Virginia International Raceway has rolled out the welcome mat for the teams and drivers of TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. Yesterday, hometown boy Colin Garrett scored the overall win, while Kevin Boehm extended his championship lead in the TC class, and Virginian Gresham Wagner took TCA honors on home soil. Hello everyone, welcome to VIR. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside, and Amanda Busick is in the pit lane. Race 2 of the weekend now for the TC America, powered by Skip Barber Racing School teams and drivers. Cars already on track for formation laps. It's a great venue, 3.27 miles, 17 turns, and for these touring cars, perfect place to go racing.
It really is. There you see the layout of the circuit, just over 3.25 miles in length, 17 very challenging corners. It's old school, big consequences if you make a mistake, but perfectly set up for these three classes we see here. Monster field here this weekend. The TCX class is absolutely exploding right now.
Speaking of which, the competition is also ramping up in TCX, and we've got a little battle royale brewing between the reigning champ Jacob Brood, who'll start on pole, and Colin Garrett, who has emerged on the scene, a guy with a lot of stock car racing experience. Well, he is taking to sports car racing and touring car racing very quickly. He'll start on the outside of the front row. Row number 3, Lucas Catania and Stephen Cugliari, each has been quick this season. Olivia Askew had a good run going before oil cooler issues yesterday took her out of contention. Steve Strymer starts alongside in 6th. Brett Scroggin and Garrett Adams make up row number 4. Joseph Catania and Jessica Tracy, who had some mechanical issues of her own on her debut in the series yesterday, make up the final row of the TCX field. Back to TC now, where Jeff Rica has his first pole position of the year. Clay Williams, a winner at NOLA Motorsports Park, will start alongside. Kevin Boehm, the points leader, starts 3rd, and a winner yesterday too. Nicholas Barbato, who finished 4th yesterday, starts 4th today. Matt Ibrahim and Matt Pombo make up the 3rd row of the TC grid. Ken Fukuda and Mike Lamara right behind them. Then it's Jason Weaver, Chris Valdez, and Ruben Iglesias rounding out the TC field. To TCA, where Devin Anderson, 3 times a runner-up this season, searching for his first win, starts alongside the birthday boy, Christian Pericarpi. Gresham Wagner won yesterday. He starts 3rd. Carter Fartuck, the points leader, is 4th. Mike Ogren and Spencer Bucknam in the 3rd row. PJ Gronke and Sally McNulty in row 4. Colin Harrison, Brandon Tyner, Tyler Delgado, and Xiao Yi Che round out the field. Quickly now down to the pit lane and our pit reporter, Amanda Busick.
Well, you guys were briefly touching on the battle royale that we have between Jacob Brood and Colin Garrett. Well, yesterday it was a miscommunication overheard from Jacob Brood that brought him into the pits thinking that he had an oil issue. There was no such issue, and unfortunately took himself out of contention to potentially win the race, or at least battle for it. Had a 6th place finish in class, but I talked to Jacob prior to the race just how he sits with that and what his response to it was, and he says, you know, it is what it is. I know what I'm good at. I know I have the car to win here today, and quite frankly, I want to win this for my father, who is here for Father's Day. Christopher Rood is on site, but another father on site here this weekend is Ryan Garrett, who is alongside celebrating in the winner circles with his son, Colin Garrett. I spoke to him prior to the race as well. With friends and family on site here today, Colin would absolutely love to sweep it here at his home track. Racing's always a family affair. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And we're about to go racing on Father's Day here at VIR. It'll be 3 distinct starts. The TCX field will come through first, then TC, then TCA. On the pole, Jacob Brood, who's looking to get back in the winner's circle. He's got Colin Garrett, a former track champion at nearby South Boston Speedway. Starts alongside on the front row. Then it's Lucas Catania and Stephen Cugliari in row number 2. The field approaching the VP acceleration zone, just waiting for Tom Hansing to throw that green flag, and it flies. Jacob Brood from pole position gets the jump. Colin Garrett right behind. He's off to the right side of the screen. The fight is on for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Catania taking a peek to the inside of Garrett, looking for 2nd. Really tight there, the 29 machine. That's Olivia Askew. They're trying to make a move early. Braved it down the inside. Couldn't quite make it stick. She's been fast this weekend, just unlucky in race 1 yesterday. Looking to put that behind her.
It's the Hyundai of Jeff Rica on pole in TC, and he accelerates away from Clay Williams. Kevin Bohm coming in the CrowdStrike Honda. He's to the inside looking to grab away that second spot, but Williams hanging tough on the outside. Meanwhile, TCA, big jump from the second row. Carter Fartuk, he'll be challenging for the lead from P4 on the grid.
Yeah, that may be legit. You are allowed to pass before the stripe here on the initial start, not on restart, so maybe just timed it perfectly, but certainly trying to get to the front and get that track position early, and he does so.
Birthday boy Christian Pericarpi swallowed up a little bit. He drops back to fourth in that yellow Mini there in the middle of the screen, side-by-side racing throughout the TCA field, and Carter Fartuk has made good his escape, just jetting away from the pack after getting launched on that start. Meanwhile, Kevin Bohm already challenging for the race lead, and he gets past Jeff Rica.
Yeah, really felt that he had a car that had a bit more pace yesterday, so trying to bounce back here, our championship leader. Big win yesterday, even though he didn't feel he had the fastest car. It was an issue with the race car. He wouldn't really tell us what it was, Ryan, but said hopefully he's got that straightened out for the race here today.
Despite the mechanical woes, he held on for the win in the class, extending that points lead. And this is a track at which he won an SCCA national championship a couple of years ago. And he said that experience really helped him fend off the challenge from a number of hungry drivers that were behind him throughout the race.
Really great to see the ebb and flow of these three different manufacturers running in the top three, where they have an advantage, where they have a disadvantage. Certainly Jeff Rica had pace here yesterday with the fastest race lap, had the pole position, but Bohm to the front early.
Honda, Hyundai, Mini, the top three as they run in TC, coming through the roller coaster for the first time in race 2.
What an awesome part of the racetrack. Got to be totally on inch perfect through here. Bohm up and over the curb a little bit. So easy to run out of road here. Tires aren't quite into this sweet spot yet. Very mild temperatures here this morning, mid-60s.
Here comes Williams in the Mini. He pulls alongside the pole sitter, Jeff Rica. That Mini had some power delivery issues yesterday, but those problems appear resolved, and Williams comes through and grabs the second spot. Rica has to slot back in line through the horseshoe.
Yeah, Williams had the lead early yesterday and then had those power issues, drop back, and then the car came back on song towards the finish. So hopefully you have a more consistent run here today.
Shaping up to have a resumption of the duel between Bohm and Williams that we saw for the first half of that race yesterday, before there were some issues with each of those cars, as a matter of fact. To the TCX field we go. Rude has gotten away from Garrett here at the start. The fight for third is the best one, with Catania currently holding on just barely over Cugliari.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise here. Jacob Rude's fastest lap is about a second clear of Garrett, so Garrett needs to get back into a rhythm here. Really kind of that championship lead yesterday. He came into this weekend 32 points behind. He now sits just 15 points behind with the big win. Rude down in position 6 yesterday.
That was the worst finish Jacob Rude has ever had in this class. Prior to that, his worst finish had been 4th last season. So definitely a surprise to see Rude that far down the order. And it really just came down to that miscommunication that Amanda chronicled. Otherwise, he had the pace to run up front.
Yeah, so ironic that the sister car with Olivia Askew had the oil cooler issue, and I think they were trying to just give Jason some information. He misread it, hit pit lane, and plummeted him down the order.
Tough luck yesterday, but he's bounced back in a big way. That said, Garrett swinging back on lap number 2, resetting the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race and carving a couple tenths off Jacob Rude's lead.
Look at Fartuk here. He's taken off here. Oh, incident coming off of Oak Tree.
That's PJ Gronke in the second of the 2.
His door is loose. See a bit of debris on the racetrack as well.
That's the second of the 2 LAP Motorsports Minis. Let's see what happened. Contact with a Hyundai. Ooh, we're going to have contact again, aren't we? Yep. Sally McNulty looks like got a piece of that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Really is PJ, the affable Canadian driver. Oh, battle for the lead is on once again in TC. Williams making the outside line work, and it's about to come back to his direction. Outside becomes the inside.
He's got it. Watch Bohm, though. He can really roll some speed through turn 3. Can he cut it back to the inside? He goes for it. Side-by-side action as they hit the brakes for turn 4.
Rinse and repeat from yesterday. These two have been putting on a thrilling battle for us throughout the course of the weekend. Kevin Bohm takes that top spot right back.
Really showcasing his racecraft right there. Beautiful stuff.
how much does track knowledge at a place like VIR help? Kevin Boehm has a lot of laps here.
It does, but these guys are learning quick, and I think Williams learned a lot from yesterday following Kevin Boehm. He's really able to roll speed with that Honda through some of these corners. We said yesterday the Mini seems a bit more of a point A to point B type squirting race car, but you can see the flow that that Honda has, and I think Williams, if he can just kind of match that and mimic that line through some of these corners, he may pick up a bit of speed and lap time.
I believe I saw that win for Kevin Boehm yesterday was his first win at this track since he won the SCCA runoffs in 2019, which is hard to believe thinking about all the wins he's racked up in TC America competition over the last couple of years. He's going to have to work for it if he's going to win 2 in a row. Here comes Clay Williams again, down Madison Avenue towards the roller coaster.
And they're pretty evenly matched. I expected the Mini to draw up alongside him here, but once he broke out of the draft, it was pretty evenly matched between the two manufacturers. So the balance of performance between these different marques is really spot on right now.
It should be noted that the weather conditions, it's quite cool here this morning, and that is really good news for the Honda, which, along with other cars certainly, but the Honda we have seen struggle in the high temperatures. Fight is on for second, it looks like, here in TCX, and overall, Catania has caught Garrett, makes contact, and goes around.
Yeah, I think that was just a racing incident, but as you can see, he gets turned around. I'm not sure if the rear wing got broken there. I saw something fly. The rear element is maybe gone.
Looks that way. I hope he knows
something
that.
Bounce up. Garrett lost a bit of ground there, so I'm not sure if he tried to make a move on route. He came over the stripe just 7/10 behind Jacob Ruud, so I'm not sure if he got close to him through that sector.
Well, part of the story is that Catania had just set the fastest lap of the race in closing down to the leaders, so he was really flying. Unfortunately, he goes around and might have some damage to that car.
It's given our defending champion a big, healthy lead right now, so he's just got to hit his marks. He's got the pace, so maybe he can bounce back and get the win here today and limit the damage in the points that he suffered yesterday.
Jacob Ruud was so impressive in this championship last year. It was the debut of the TCX class, and he took to it quickly, established himself as the championship favorite early on. Meanwhile, change for the lead in TC. Williams has gotten around Kevin Boehm. Now can he pull away?
I really see a different line from Williams. I mean, yesterday it was very much straight line between the points around this racetrack. He's now developing a similar flow to what we saw with Boehm, but look at Boehm. He's trying to get way out of the way. Forget the draft. He's like 2 lanes over. He doesn't want any of that hot air hitting the front end of that Honda right now.
That's something they've been working on with this car over the past couple of years in development. The Mini has had its issues with the heat we've seen this weekend too, but it's not in creating the power where they've had the issues. Louis Pericarpi telling me they've had some issues with their braking, but they do feel like they've got that pretty well dialed in now at this stage, and Clay Williams is starting to draw away.
Yeah, he looks really strong right now. Boehm's car, he likes the clean air. He likes getting that fresh air to the front grille of that Honda. As we said, much cooler temperatures. We saw ambience about 30 degrees warmer than we're seeing today here on Friday. Here's the move down the front straightaway. Gets there a little bit earlier. Nothing that Kevin can do now. He just gives it up.
Kevin's racing with the big picture in mind. Not that Clay isn't, but oh, big off here. Tech Sports Subaru, if I'm not mistaken. And that will be bringing out a full course yellow, almost assuredly.
There it is.
Brings a halt to what had been a thrilling race to this point. This is good news for Catania, who had that spin and had dropped well behind, but has the fastest lap. Now he'll get caught back up.
Maybe my eyes deceive me, but I thought there was something come up from the rear wing. It may have just been the dust flying. Certainly as he drove away, there was some part of the element still there.
Yep.
I'm not sure how effective those cars, those rear wings are with these race cars.
It wipes away a 2-second lead for Jacob Ruud.
Yeah, he was looking great. And certainly Garrett had that little bump. Hopefully his car is 100% and he can go back on the attack here.
Well, we will soon see. Talking about Jacob Ruud. Last year he seemed like he was winning each and every weekend. I think he won at least one race every weekend over the course of the season, but the field wasn't quite this deep, at least not regularly. There were a few instances of it, but this class has grown leaps and bounds year to year.
Yeah, I like the way he's taking it on the chin. I mean, when you dominate like that, you think you're the man, right? And then suddenly you get guys like Cugliari came in last year, won 3 of the 4 rounds that he competed in. So it takes the shine off the prize in terms of that trophy at the end of the year. But I think Jacob is relishing this. I mean, to improve as a driver, you need strong competition. He's certainly got it all around his ears this year.
He won 7 races on the trot to start the year 1 year ago. It looks like Sebring was the only weekend he did not get at least one win, but he finished second at both of those. Again, no finishes worse than 4th all season last year to take home the TCX championship. And it's been a strong start to the year yesterday, notwithstanding, for Jacob Ruud. They're taking a look here at the second place car in TC. That is Kevin Boehm, and a man that has more on his story.
Any potential issue that could happen with the overheating on that Honda. And I also want to talk a little bit about Jeff Ricka. He did come to life yesterday towards the end of the race. I stopped by and talked to his wife Rachel on if they had any changes to the car overnight. And Cal, you'll remember we saw them at dinner last night at the tavern here on property, and she said no, we were able to enjoy a nice dinner because we made no changes on the car. But a big Father's Day weekend for Jeff Ricka. He has his wife here, of course, Rachel, and then Mia and Evan watching along as well. But Ryan, I know you share some track time along with your dad as well. How special is it sharing this on Father's Day alongside a parent that is into racing as much as you are?
Oh, it's a big deal for sure to get to share the sport with your father. For my dad and me, that was a big area of bonding through adolescence and into adulthood. And yeah, we've shared the wheel at some endurance events and things of that nature, some spec Miata racing and things like that. It's really cool, and you know, you need to have, if you're going to race at this level, a family that's there to support you, and in many cases it is the fathers, not exclusively, but in many cases that's the case, that help the kids get into the sport and support them along the way.
Well, motor racing is so different. I mean, you need someone to give you that support, both morally and obviously financially. A young kid of 7, 8 years old, whenever they start racing as a karter or whatever, you can't just go and buy a go-kart. You need your family support to do that. So it takes a lot of support from the family, and it's just a wonderful way to bond, as you said, at special times. And, you know, being here on Father's Day, it's great that so many of these drivers have their families with them this weekend. Yeah,
my dad's racing this weekend, so good luck today, Dad. Go get it done. I know they won an Enduro yesterday and had a good run in the Spec Miata race. And another driver in this race that has a father here this week, and is Olivia Askew. Her dad, David Askew, will see racing in Fanatec GT a little bit later on today, and we certainly look forward to seeing that. So right now, under safety car conditions due to the off-track excursion just a little while ago, and the safety crew doing their job now, attending to the incident scene. This is a look at what happened. It's Gresham Wagner, the winner yesterday.
Wow, he just sort of like went to the left. The road was not open to him, and flicks to the other side. He just gets it all wrong. That is a big, big impact there. Tires are doing their job. He's walking away gingerly. Hopefully he's okay, but safety team right on the mark there.
Yeah, that's great to see Gresham walking away. Tough turn of fortune for the winner of race 1. He was right there racing for the lead again when that happened.
Yeah, he had the draft there on Carter Fartuk, thought about going to the left, but Carter was just taking the normal line there. He didn't really block him. He was just taking his normal line, and Gresham flicked to the outside, and I think he just didn't quite understand how deep into the brake zone they'd already gotten.
Well, this Tech Sport team, they're based here on site at VIR, as are several of these teams. The Skip Barber School team is here as well, and they'll take that car back to headquarters and see what they can do with it. It looks like a pretty sizable repair job is needed, but like you said, the good news is the tire barrier in the car and all the safety gear did what it was designed to do.
It'll be a big hit in the points as well.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, very
Not
true.
a great day. Got to get to 75%. With the depth of the field, he wouldn't be in a point-scoring position anyway, I don't think. So, tough day.
Well, Gresham's a great story. Really talented young man. Did a lot of club-level racing to get started. Ended up in MX5 Cup. Won the championship last year. But if you go back a few years, he had to take a lengthy hiatus from racing. 2 years off due to a back issue that required a major surgery. Basically, they had to transform his spine into one solid continuous bone to correct this issue, and he had to sit out for a couple of years, but has bounced back and had some serious success since then. Looks like this is going to be a lengthy pause here, so we've gone red flag. While the cars make their way back around to the pit lane, let's check in with Amanda.
Well, you guys were talking about David Askew, and as expected, he is sitting here at DXTT watching along as his daughter races today. Happy Father's Day to you, David. Describe your pride in watching your girl race here today.
I mean, it's awesome. I have 3 girls, and Olivia is the only one that races, although my oldest, Waverly, actually works for the race team. But no, I'm very proud of her and all of them. But it's fun, you know, being at the race events with at least 2 of my daughters. The third was supposed to be here, but she had she just had a little issue and couldn't be here.
Being able to share this racing habit with Olivia, how did you hook her into this?
You know, I just kind of held it. I held it out in front of all of them, and all of them actually have been in race cars. But she was the only one that really took to it. She was a competitive free skier when she was young, and she actually won the Junior Free Skiing Worlds in Europe. And it was funny, her mother came to me at one point and said, you know, can you get Olivia into racing so we can get her out of the skiing? Because she figured the racing would be a more safe thing for her to do.
Well done, Dad. Happy Father's Day.
It is a cool story. She's got that need for speed and the adrenaline rush from the skiing, and it's transitioned pretty well. You know, that is something you do see. A lot of racing drivers do enjoy snow skiing, and I think there might be some similarities there.
Particularly here, going up through the S's.
Sure.
It's like you're hitting the gates coming through there, right? Clipping those curbs.
Yep, absolutely. So red flag here over VIR for barrier repair. Again, the incident that brought out the red flag, Gresham Wagner into the tire barriers while fighting for the lead in the TCA class with Carter Fartuck. Good news is Gresham was able to walk to the safety vehicle under his own power and will be evaluated at the new and updated infield care center here at VIR, I'm sure, here shortly, and we hope for the best there. But the cleanup is necessitated because the tire barrier took quite a hit and will need to be rearranged just to make sure if a car were to go off in that area again, you don't want that barrier to be compromised.
No, in no way. I mean, the safety is key around this racetrack, so they need to make sure it's 100% before we can go back to green flag racing. And got a bit of time between the races here today to play with. Yesterday's schedule was a bit more jam-packed, let's put it that way. So I think they're making the wise call here, give everyone the opportunity to cool their heels a little bit, have a reset, and get ready for some green flag action, hopefully.
Now, all these cars headed to the pit lane. That's where they'll be shut off. It'll be park for May conditions, so no one will be able to work on the race cars. It's often said that a racing vehicle doesn't really like to shut down and start back up again. You know, what do you start thinking about if you're a crew member or even one of these drivers as you come in for a pause and you don't know how long it's going to last?
Well, typically the teams don't anticipate this, so maybe they've got some fans or something back at the transporter. They can quickly get those down to a pit lane, hustle and get some external blowers on the race cars themselves. But we're not in extreme heating conditions, so very mild day here today, still in the 60s, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But you never know. You get a little bit of heat soak, some problems with the fuel line, stuff like that. So fingers crossed everyone fires back up and has a car that they can go race again with.
Looking at the start of the race, again, the move of the race so far has to be that initial start from Carter Fartuck, going from the second row to the lead. in just a pretty short amount of time on the run from the green flag down to turn 1. And that's an aggressive move, but it could pay big dividends in the championship.
Yeah, and again, it could have just been that the speed that they came up to the initial start with was right in the sweet spot. I mean, all of these gear ratios amongst the various manufacturers, you're going to have an ebb and flow to that in terms of when it's good, when it's bad, and he just hit it perfectly. Didn't get any call from the stewards that was under review, so I think it was clean, and he just timed it perfectly. As I said, on an initial start, you can pass before the stripe. On a restart, you have to wait for that line.
Speaking of the stewards weighing in on things, they did not weigh in on that initial start. They have weighed in on the contact between the 44 car of Garrett and the 26 car of Catania and ruled no further action. So like you called it at the time, just a racing incident.
I think so. I mean, obviously, Catania did that great lap there to get right on the heels of Garrett. They go side by through that corner. There's a little bump, and he went for a ride, but I don't think there's anything that Garrett did.
Earlier in the weekend, our Amanda Busick caught up with Matt Pombo, who currently sits 5th in the touring car TC class. Let's hear from Matt on how the weekend is playing out with Amanda from earlier in the weekend.
In 3 of the 4 races, Matt Pombo has found the podium this season. And Matt, when you look at the consistency that your team has found, and now a bit of a struggle here today, you find yourself in 6th to kick off this race. What challenge is ahead of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's been the heat all weekend. I mean, fortunately, we get a little reprieve. I know we were talking to Amanda about it's a nice, cool 83 degrees today. So compared to what we've been dealing with the last few days, that's kind of nice. I think, we've had, braking challenges. These cars, they're street cars. The guys at LA Honda World, are top mechanics. It's what they do for a living. And we've just had some problems with our traction control and some of the things affecting how we can brake, making it a little challenging, because that's a very important part about racing. And as a driver, confidence on the brakes is super important to going fast. So, we had a little issue in qualifying, and I think you take those out and we're right there. It's just a matter of being patient, working our way through the field, understanding we do have another race tomorrow, and keep the car in one piece, because there's a lot of opportunities to wreck here. It's a good old school track. Love it. From the Southeast, race here for 25 years, had a lot of success here. So I think if the car's good, I'll do my part, and as I tell the team, that's the easy part. So they're the ones out here in this heat working really hard to give us some good equipment for the races. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it kind of comes our way. As they say, you need some racing luck, and aside from doing everything you can control, which is what we're going to try to do today.
So far, Kevin Bohm looks like the guy to beat in class this season. How do you dig into the lead that he's been able to build?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Kevin's had these cars for 3 years, so, they are factory cars. We're all old school club racers, and there's obviously areas you can develop cars, and it's a similar manufacturer, so we're trying to sort through where we can keep improving, and that's all we can control. I mean, we see a lot of data, and obviously driving around him, we know the areas we need to work on, so we'll keep working. And the team's great behind us. I got a lot of commitment from Mario, who's our team principal, and I think we're gonna keep challenging. We'll just keep getting better. That's all we can do.
And it is a big challenge this year for the LA Honda World team. They had been run out of the LAP Motorsports shop in Indiana for the past several years, but this has now been taken fully in-house by the LA Honda World dealership in Los Angeles, and they're running this operation from those facilities. And so there's a lot of learning going on, and I think he brought up an interesting point. Yeah, Kevin Bohm's had some experience in this car going back to last year, and the team has had some experience with it. Kevin bringing his insight to the team, working with the Skip Barber School team here this year. There's a lot of learning going on for this team that's basically starting again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a learning curve with it. Certainly, Kevin Bohm has a jump start on these guys. But Bohm was had a nice start to the year. Came into this weekend second in points on the back of 3 podium runs out of the first 4 races. Had a 5th place finish yesterday. Runs P5 right now. So some weekends you just don't have it. And obviously those Gen Racing machines are ahead of him. Bohm's ahead of him. That mini lead. So let's see on this restart if he's got anything to maybe cut through the pack a little bit.
It's a great racing family, the Pombo family.
Yeah.
They've been at it for a while.
Raced against Matt's dad, Pepe.
Yeah.
In Race Truck Challenge, yeah. Just great, passionate racing people. We talk about fathers and sons, and Pepe certainly had his boys at his races, and now he supports them equally.
See the bright liveries of the DRS Garagistic team. This is a cool team that debuted here a year ago, actually, with Chris Valdez, the team owner. He's the DRS, Dynamic Racing Solutions. That's his business. And they do a lot of work prepping race cars out on the West Coast for club racing. And they got hooked up with Matt Ibrahim, who's one of the other drivers. He's the garagistic part of the DRS garagistic team equation. And that's an aftermarket parts business that Matt actually started while he was in college to help pay his tuition. And it's turned into this big business, very successful. When he decided he wanted to go racing, he already had a relationship with Chris Valdez for some of his street cars, and they put together a deal to go racing. And Matt said recently it was a real thrill to be able to take Chris with him on this racing adventure. And they're both very bubbly personalities, and you can see that on the car. They like to have these bright paint schemes because they feel like it brings a lot of attention, and it's a way just to have some fun and express their personality.
Well, they certainly do that nicely with their liveries, as you said. I think they and Zalus kind of go head-to-head in terms of who's got the brightest color scheme in our paddock, but really nice team. Very cool to see them getting it together. They always run very competitively and first-class operation.
Chris Valdez has an interesting story as well. His passion's certainly racing and motorsports. That's a big part of it, but he's also a big-time skateboarder, and at one time, there was a few years ago, he did this challenge where you had to do a different skateboarding trick every day of the year. And he was telling me you really had to plan this out in advance. Like if you were going to be on a road trip, you had to think where I could stop to go and try this new trick. And you had to think about what kinds of tricks you can do in different situations. And it was this whole undertaking. He said he'd never do it again, but it was a really, really interesting year. Race Vision powered by AWS. Overall top speeds so far, and the TCX class, of course, dominating this. Stephen Cugliari, for whatever reason, maybe being in the slipstream has helped him to some degree, but nearly 150 miles an hour in a touring car. Yeah,
it's a quick place, and we saw that with the incident that we're now trying to get the track cleaned up from. Even with TCA cars, they really hustle around this circuit. Cugliari's having a good run here. Sits in the third spot, so a little bit of a body rub there on that right rear corner. I'm not sure if that's from today's race or earlier action this weekend, but he's having a strong year. I'm sure he came into this season thinking, well, maybe I can get that championship wrestle from Jacob Rude, but it seems like everyone has stepped up their game.
And that's what we've seen so far in TCX. It's been true across the board. Right now, the leader in TCA is Carter Fartuck, and earlier in this weekend, Amanda caught up with him as well.
I caught up with him right now, guys, actually here on pit lane as we wait to see if we're going to go back racing here. And Carter said he would be okay if it ended right now, but as a true racer, he wants to get this thing back to green. But just briefly chatting with Carter, his first question was asking how Grisham was. He saw the incident happen, wondered if Grisham had lost brakes on that. I haven't been able to catch up with the team yet. Grisham's car chief was away from the pit box by the time we got here, but Carter wanted to know Grisham was okay. But talk about the battle between these two teams this weekend. Both present here at VIR have big operations here. I know we snuck by Skip Barber's 10,000 square foot facility that they have here at VIR. But when you think of Carter and what his ability is, he loves these restarts. Imagine him to keep pace here in TCA, but just breaking down our trip over by Skip Barber, was there anything that stuck out from the operation to you guys?
Just their big plans, Amanda. I mean, it's a huge operation here on site, and they're looking at actually expanding beyond the facility that they're leasing right now and building something even bigger. Moved here in January, had been based at New Jersey Motorsports Park, but talking to the management, they really like what they found at VIR. It's a good location for them, central to a lot of different tracks that they visit, and they're running a ton of different programs all from this shop.
Yeah, and I love the ladder system with their racing program, both in TCA and TC. It really gives them that stepping stone for students who are coming out of their driving programs that they run so many guys through every single year, and gives them somewhere to go with it. It's just a first-class operation. They have a ton of momentum right now. Survived COVID, which is obviously difficult when you're trying to put groups of people together. The business is absolutely exploding. They're talking about taking the schools to Europe now, so big plans, and just wonderful to get some insight here this weekend.
So many big names came through the Skip Barber School and continue to. I think that was one of the interesting things. with the emphasis on road racing in NASCAR these days, there apparently were a lot of big-name NASCAR drivers that went through the Skip Barber School last year. Guys, you would think at this stage in their careers they know enough. Why would they go seek out more? But Kyle Busch, for instance, was one name that was given to us. He was sitting in some of these sessions. He was learning more about the craft of road racing, and that's a pretty big indicator of just how valuable the Skip Barber School program can be when someone like Kyle Busch, at this stage in his career, already a champion, is seeking them out.
Well, I think that's the key. I mean, I think even Michael McDowell went through I think they said 42 current Cup drivers have been involved with their programs over the years, and certainly recently with the kind of trend towards now, I think there's 6 races on the Cup schedule that are on road courses. So even the best in the business, Michael McDowell's been a great road racer over the years. He wanted to come and learn a little bit more from some of the experts that they have as their instructors there. And they put through like 10 to 12,000 students a year, 240 events. And they also run the logistics for the SRX championship that debuted this season at least, or their first race of the year last night with Elio Castroneves getting the big win.
Yep, and they'll be racing just down the road next week over at South Boston on the oval there. So that will be nice, a bit of a shorter commute, I suppose, for the Skip Barber folks as they help to support SRX. Good news is the red flag has been lifted, and it's time to resume, at least behind the safety car. And we should get back to racing here very soon. 23 minutes and 46 seconds still on the clock here, Calvin. Plenty of time for things to change. Jacob Rude had his lead taken away by this safety car, so that brings Garrett right back to his doorstep and right down the line. And we'll have battles forming in each of the 3 classes.
Yeah, Scroggins having a really good run there, sitting in the 4th position as well. Olivia's back in 5th. But yeah, for Colin Garrett, opportunity. He took it full advantage yesterday with Jacob Rude's little faux pas there with the miscommunication and hitting pit lane when he didn't need to, but really cutting that championship lead. But again, it's a big points delta between 1st and 2nd. It's an 8-point swing. So yeah, you can suddenly make that move around Jacob Rude. That's like a 16-point swing collectively between finishing 1st and 2nd and reversing that order.
Yeah, it's crucial. There's such an emphasis on winning because of the point structure, as there should be. I think it makes a lot of sense to have it that way, to have that big disparity between 1st and 2nd. And there's that extra incentive then to take the risk, because every point could matter at the end of the season.
I think it's perfectly weighted. It really mimics the Formula One scoring system as well, and there's enough of a dividend there in terms of getting that win and going for it. When you get deeper in the pack, it's like 1 position, 2-3 points, you get that win. It's an 8-point swing. That's major.
Absolutely. So one thing to keep an eye on, it does look like there's been a transponder issue for Kevin Boehm. He's been bouncing all over timing and scoring here lately, but it does appear that car is out on track, although it's not always being shown in the appropriate position. So we'll do our best to keep an eye on that, but Kevin should be running in the 2nd spot. And we'll wait for him to come through as part of the TC field here. Everybody bunched all together, though, in TCX. We've got 10 cars in the class. There is Boehm, so that question's been answered. And that the competition level continues to grow. TC, always a slugfest. We saw that last year. TCA as well, in a great mix of manufacturer involvement across all 3 classes.
Yeah, I think Amanda brought up a good point about Gresham Wagner's incident there. It looked like he just flicked out from behind Fartuk and just got it wrong, but maybe there was a technical issue, so hopefully we'll get some feedback on that, if not before the end of the race, by the next event. So big incident. Hopefully we'll see them at the Glen.
And the best news, of course, is we did see Gresham Wagner walk away from what was a heavy impact into the tire barrier, but the tire barrier doing its job, as well as all the safety systems on the cars and that the drivers wear. So Gresham able to walk to the safety vehicle under his own power. And the full course yellow that has resulted from that incident hopefully will be lifted here soon. Does look like a few of the track safety vehicles are still on site in that corner. Lights, it appears, are still on the safety car, so at least one more lap of yellow upcoming.
Yeah, I think what they're probably now doing is looking at the event schedule and trying to get the clock rolling again, and meanwhile complete the fix there up in turn 13, 14 area.
Well, credit to the track crew. They've been hard at work in preparation for this event, and then with duty calls, they They've stepped up to the plate and performed admirably to make the repairs when necessary and help out in the case of incidents. You never want to see it, but you have to be prepared for the worst eventuality.
Oh, for sure. And as we've mentioned many times this weekend, just continuous improvements from the safety aspect with this racetrack. As you're looking down the front straightaway to the right side of the screen, driver's left, you can see that guardrail that's been put in since last year, 3,000 foot straightaway. So that's a big task in its own. And then you get down into turn one. If you do skip across the grass there's now this Geobrook catch fencing system that's been put in place, and they're going to gradually put that around the whole facility. And just continuous improvements, just the infrastructure, new infield care center, pit lane has been improved in terms of the cold side, a lot more room for the teams to operate in. And Kerrigan Smith and his whole team, along with the support of Connie Nyholm, just do a wonderful job here.
Back to the catch fencing conversation. We've seen so much improvement in the technology in the cars, in the technology of soft walls, but we haven't seen so much progression until recent years in the catch fencing. It's been fairly static, and maybe that's the next wave of racetrack safety.
Well, you never stop learning, and there's been some incidents at other racetracks where we've seen the catch fence poles kind of collapse, so they need to be sturdy. That's what this Geobrook system gives. It's almost like an I-beam type structure to that. And also with this new system, the catch fencing itself is in sections. So if you don't just peel back a big layer, and suddenly there's a lot of track repair, which costs you time and may see a race not go back to green flag racing. So the teams and, the circuits are really appreciating this new system and gradually implementing that.
To recap how we got to this point, Jacob Ruud started on pole in TCX and fended off the early challenge from Colin Garrett. Built up a nice lead, as a matter of fact, as Garrett was fighting with Lucas Catania. Lucas got the worst end of that incident. There was some contact between the two in turn 4. That incident was reviewed, no action was taken. This yellow has been a godsend for Lucas, though, because now he finds himself caught back up to the rest of the field and back in a position to challenge towards the front. He does have the fastest lap of the race right now. The only one of 2 drivers to get below the 2-minute threshold over the course of a lap at this stage. So that's a fast car that will restart back in 8th position. Also in the TC class, the big battle has been between Williams, Bohm, and Rika. Rika had the pole, but lost the lead really early on in the first sequence of corners, in fact. Bohm to the point early, but has subsequently lost the lead then to Clay Williams in the mini. So Williams now leading Bohm and Rika 1, 2, 3, with Rika's team car, Nicholas Barbato, currently holding down the 4th spot. And then in TCA, the highlight of the race to this point, Carter Fartuk from the 2nd row of the grid grabbed the lead into turn number 1, and he's held it ever since. In fact, it was fighting for the lead with Gresham Wagner that Wagner had his off and brought out this most recent and the race's only to date full course yellow and red flag situation as track repairs were wrapping up. And it appears they have wrapped up now because the safety car has accelerated away, and Jacob Ruud now in firm control of this field.
See the various classes getting that split. They ideally want to see about a 200 to 300 foot gap between the tail end of this TCX field and the front runners in TC.
Here comes the field, though, through Hogpen, down to the front straightaway. Those classes will split as best as they can. Jacob Ruud has controlled this race from the front. He's the reigning series champion, but right behind him, the winner yesterday, Colin Garrett, keeping close to the back bumper into the acceleration zone, and the green flag waves. Jacob Ruud accelerates, but Garrett right behind. Here we go. The fight is on for 4th with Olivia Askew making a move up the inside. Meanwhile, Garrett gets jumped by Cugliari and falls back to 3rd.
Yeah, that's not the start he was looking for. Our winner from yesterday, Olivia Askew, getting a brilliant start once again, makes it stick down the inside, but now Scroggin comes back at her. Cugliari having a nice restart there. Meanwhile, in TC, it's Williams up front, Bohm 2nd. Battle between the 2 teammates there with the Gen Racers.
That's right. So that's Barbato in the purple-tinged car trying to take the 3rd spot away from the team boss, Jeff Rika. Now he comes under attack, though, as Pombo takes a peek to the inside, but Pombo can't get the move made. Barbato, for now, holding on to P4.
Good little scrap here. Let's see how Kevin Bowen manages this. Is he trying to stay out of that draft and not get the Honda overheating? Yeah, he's looking for fresh air. He wants the lead.
It's probably more about getting the fresh air to the radiators than really making a move, but it also serves to fill the mirrors of Clay Williams, who earned his first TC class win the last time out at NOLA Motorsports Park in New Orleans.
Yeah, and if he's got any temperature-related issues or something he's trying to manage, this may be the time to go on the attack. Had a chance to cool things off during this full course yellow and the car sitting on pit lane for a while. He'll go on the attack early, but Rick is right there with him.
Yeah, that's right. Bohm looking a bit vulnerable. He said yesterday he didn't think he had a winning car. He might have had a third-place car, but due to circumstances and some clever driving, he got the win. Now looks like he has some power advantage on Williams.
Wow, big time. Is Williams getting a little bit of the issue he had yet? Oh, more contact here. That's Olivia Askew involved.
Yep, Askew, one of the two cars off track. The other is Garrett Adams. Looks like Askew will be able to rejoin. Not sure about Adams, though. But back to the TC situation. We saw Williams get up front yesterday, then have some kind of power generation issue, and he dropped back from there, and I wonder if some of those same gremlins might not have appeared again.
Yeah, where has he gone? He's back to third there, so he is, yeah, he's losing power right now. You can see it down this front straightaway as well.
Now that is heartbreaking for the Mini team, which has put so much effort into developing this car, and he is well off the pace. Ken Fukuda now coming through as well. That's a big move up the inside from Matt Ibrahim. He gets it slowed down, though, and is able to grab the spot.
There was a little bit of what's going on here. How slow is that man? Is he pulling off? Is he trying to get back up to speed? Not sure if there's any type of reset that he can do, but yesterday he had a similar issue and suddenly the car got back on song and he was chasing down the leaders and finished on the podium.
Well, that team has been battling clutch issues throughout the season. They think they've made some changes that can help with that. Meanwhile, TCA, the lead has changed, but will it stay that way? Fartuk trying to get back to the inside of Anderson. Anderson keeps him at bay.
Good respect there, giving each other a little bit of elbow room. Nawaji Baji involved there, so Anderson keeps the lead. And it's funny, these two teams are based literally a few hundred yards from each other on site here at VIR, Skip Barber and the Tech Sport team.
Don't sleep on Christian Pericarpi, who's celebrating a birthday today. He runs in third in the yellow and black Mini, keeping close tabs on the battle for the lead in front of him. Devin Anderson, thrice a runner-up this season, yet to win. And he has the lead now as we go full course yellow for the second time.
Yeah, I wonder if Garrett Adams was not able to get his car mobile again there. There it sits. That's the exit of turn 14, unfortunately. Didn't get to the tire barriers, but obviously enough damage. He can't get the car moving, and now he does. That's the irony. Yeah, he just gets into the side of Olivia there, down into the brake zone.
And tough to see that. It was shaping up to be the best weekend of the year for Olivia Askew.
She loves this racetrack and came in here with a little bit of testing behind her as well, expected to do well and had a good run going.
And for Garrett Adams, he ran 2 races a year ago, both at Sebring, finished 3rd and 4th in those 2 races.
And he gambled on the setup a little bit here today. He doesn't seem to be quite as sharp as he was here yesterday in terms of his pace.
It is a boost issue, we're told, for Clay Williams in the Mini. So yes, Garrett Adams with the 3rd and the 4th yesterday. And then it was Colin Garrett, yes, who might be gambling on that setup, perhaps, not with the outright pace we saw from the race-winning car yesterday, now running in 3rd overall and in TCX. Brett Scroggin, who's making his debut. Nice, solid day to be up in 4th.
Yeah, really is doing a nice job there. Catania has pace, as we mentioned, sits in the 5th position now. Strymon dropped down to 6. Key is going to be, we should see a little bit more action here. Plenty of time on the clock. Get that car moved or into a safe haven, and let's go back racing here. Lots to play for.
Oh, for sure. Although, I think Clay Williams would be just fine if this race stayed like this. I guess he probably isn't going to lose too many more positions. Where is he listed now? He's down in 8th in the TC class, and the points are paid down to 10th.
Right. key is if it's, I'm not sure what the issue was yesterday, if it was boost that came back, but with boost typically it's a hose or a connector that's come loose. That's not going to fix itself, unfortunately, for him.
Yeah, really too bad on a weekend where Williams in that Mini had some strong pace. We look again at Adams. Could not get that car out of the pasture there, and we'll need some further assistance. Safety team on site to provide that assistance. Now we look at how these laps under safety car are going. It's a 3 or 4 minute safety car lap. We'll have to do, I suspect, at least one more. So we're looking at best, maybe a 2-lap shootout.
That's enough to get spicy.
Oh, yeah. And these touring car drivers, not afraid to get the elbows out. We've seen that throughout the course of the season. It's a great formula in a lot of ways. Not the same kind of horsepower you see in a GT car, not the same level of downforce either. There is Garrett Adams. But it leads to very close racing, and you can follow one another in a way that you can't as much in a car that's more heavily reliant on aerodynamics and downforce.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes the racing so exciting, that you can go nose to tail through these high-speed sections without losing that downforce and car and tire performance, of course. It's just been a bit of an interrupted race. Just really can't get into a full flow here today.
No, that's too bad. It's not showcasing just how good the racing in this series can be. And a good race yesterday, though.
It's also frustrating. You think about the effort that goes in for race teams and drivers and families to be here this weekend, and you want to go racing, right? I mean, these are relatively short sprint events anyway at 40 minutes, so to get this disruption, don't get the true satisfaction out of the weekend if you're not getting a lot of green flag running.
Haven't had a chance to give a shout out yet to Jessica Tracy, who is making her series debut this weekend. It's the debut for the Random Vandals team. So actually the green BMW just going through the shot in front of Kevin Bohm. They're a brand new program. They've been working on getting this up and running all season long. They've been doing some work in the club levels of endurance racing, identifying some promising drivers that need an opportunity and helping bring them through. And Jessica Tracy is one of those, a mother of two. She and her husband Justin do a lot of racing together. I met them both at a restaurant last night. First started racing in 2015, but very enthusiastic about it, very frustrated that yesterday they had some mechanical gremlins that they were working through, but she's so excited to be here. And Paul Sparta, who heads up Random Vandals Racing, really thrilled to be able to bring her along. And they've got some big plans for helping some drivers into pro racing in the years to come. It's exciting to see how much Paul has invested into this program. Yeah,
and I saw him on pit lane there during the red, having a chat with her in the race car. And here we see the damage to Olivia's car here from that incident with Garrett Adams into the brake zone there for the roller coaster. We also saw a quick glimpse of Toby Grahovic, great racer himself, now on the pit box, calling the shots for the fast track racing team. Looking to see if his championship leader and defending champ, Jacob Ruud, has to do any defending here if we're going to have any time on the clock. Looks like they're just about getting that car out of harm's way, so they can slow that safety car down a little bit. Maybe we can go green flag racing here soon.
Looks like the lights just were extinguished, so we might be in luck here, Calvin. That would be great news indeed for a couple more laps of green flag racing to the finish. You brought up Toby Grahovic a moment ago. It's a bit strange not seeing him in the race car here this year, but he and that team, Fast Track Racing, which for so many years was the team behind Classic BMW, basically it's the same team, new name here this year. They've got so many programs going on that Toby felt like he needed to be out of the cockpit and just focusing on running the team.
Yeah, I mean, just a great racer, but just so much experience. And it's always great when you're part of that race team as a driver to have someone at the helm who has the same experience and you can relate to them. But I think the key right now is for these drivers, I mean, you know, been running around here at low speeds behind the safety car. You can certainly get a lot of pickup. Those little marbles, the shavings of the tires that get dispensed during the course of this race. You got to make sure you prep this car ready for this restart. So easy to just go flying down into one of these corners. The grip level is not the same because you haven't prepped the tires. So you can certainly weave around a little bit more than we're seeing. And also using the brake an accelerator at the same time to generate a bit of temperature up through the wheel, up through the upright.
All of that preparation so important to getting a good, clean restart. Stephen Cugliari, who's in second there, he's going to be hungry. He's been a runner-up twice this season, 3 times on the podium. Doesn't have that elusive first win of the year just yet. Won 3 times last season at the expense of the man he's chasing, Jacob Ruud. We'll see if Jacob can handle him on the restart. Second time that Jacob has led the field to the green on a restart here in the second race of the weekend, and he'll back down that pace as we saw him do the first time, approaching the VP acceleration zone where he as the leader can dictate the restart pace and where it happens. We're waiting, and now he goes. Green flag in the air. Cugliari will drop back. Here comes Colin Garrett looking to go on the attack once again, the winner yesterday who runs third.
Cugliari, though, takes his car down to the inside, doesn't open up the door side by side here. There's the 26 car of Catania as the fastest lap of the race, making a move here.
Yep, Catania trying to make up ground after the issue earlier, the spin following contact. TC field totally mixed up. It's Barbado now
tight.
dueling with Ken Fukuda, and Fukuda goes through.
Yeah, Palumbo in the mix there as well, I believe.
Absolutely. And Ibrahim in the brightly colored BMW also in the picture. He's going to take a lunge to the inside, try to get to the inside of the LA Honda World car. Can't get the job done. It's still side by side with Barbado and Fukuda.
Oh, someone took a rough ride there across the curbing there. That's turn 6.
Looked like some smoke out of the back of Clay Williams' exhaust. We know he's had some of those power delivery issues that might have continued there, and he's dropped well off the pace in that Mini. Here comes the TCA field past the stricken Mini Cooper.
Yeah, good job there by Clay Williams, just getting out of the way. He's going to be run over right now if not.
Carter Fartung, I think, did he get by Anderson?
He has.
Change in the lead on the restart. Boy, this new Honda Civic, which debuted this season with Carter and the Skip Barber Racing School team, so stout on starts and restarts.
It is, and his mentality as well. He knows that's the opportunity to make hay while the sun shines, and he's grabbed that track position, realizing he doesn't have a lot of time left on the clock to try and defend the lead with, so very, very important here.
How about Christian Pericarpi in the Mini? He's going to take his shot at Anderson now, coming down Madison Avenue into the roller coaster. Is Christian close enough? Not this time. Anderson holds on to second.
A bit of a twitch there. Looks like Anderson may be struggling to get grip. Maybe there's some pickup on the tires, but he has closed in on Carter Fartung. This race is anything but over right now as someone kicks up some dust coming through Hog Bend.
Oh, that's a blinding sandstorm for the TCA field to drive through now. Fartung looking vulnerable. Here we go for the TCA lead. Devin Anderson trying to take it away from the championship leader.
Here they come through that little kink down this front straightaway. Fartung's got some TC traffic up ahead that may be running a slightly lesser pace than these leaders in TCA. Could that be a factor for the win?
I wonder if Ibrahim had the off to kick up that dust because he was running much further up the lineup. He dropped 2 spots on that previous lap. Now he starts to clear out ahead of the TCA leaders. 1, 2, 3, 4 in class, all running together. Spencer Buckton, haven't talked about him, but he's having another solid run to 4th.
Yeah, so consistent. 3 podium runs in the first 4 races. Had a top 5 here yesterday. And I think the leaders did not get the white flag, so these drivers we're looking at right now have about a lap and a half to go in this race still.
Yep, it's all based on when the overall leader comes by start finish. Do they have enough time for 1 or 2 more laps? And I think you're right, and it should be enough for 2.
Saw some debris there flying in the backdrop there of the snake. Here comes Garrett on Cugliari trying to get that second position on the road. Look at the run that Catania has. Looks to the inside, 3 abreast into the brake zone.
Oh, 3 into 1. This could get hairy.
It's really
tight. Cugliari in the middle. Garrett backs out of it. Catania backs out of it to some degree, but they remain side by side.
Awesome racing. Big, big respect there. Cugliari managed that perfectly. Was the meat in the sandwich there. Almost became the thin slice.
Big slide from the touring car neophyte, Garrett. A lot of stock car racing experience, but still very new to this form of racing. He runs in 3rd.
Brood will be loving what he's seeing in that rearview mirror right now as the white flag does fly for our overall leader and leader in TCX. Cugliari there defending the inside line. Garrett on the attack, looks to the outside.
3.25 miles to go at VIR. Jacob Brood with a massive lead, but second, third, fourth, and fifth covered by a proverbial blanket. So tight here at the front of the TCX field.
Catania there, hanging tough. Looking to try and get on that podium, but it looks like it may be a little bit out of reach unless these two in front of him start to get into it with each other.
Garrett racing in front of friends and family. He's from nearby South Boston. He's got Cugliari in front of him, who's staring down yet another.
There's debris right there as well. You see that on the racetrack.
Yep. Cugliari looking at another runner-up finish this season. It would be his third.
See, you just can't see that debris when you're tucked under the rear wing of one of these other cars.
So Bohm has pulled out to the lead in TC now over Jeff Rica, and it's a substantial margin. Kevin Bohm looking to sweep the weekend.
Anderson to the front in TCA, 1 lap to go.
Looking for his first win of the season.
That would be a big celebration with his family here. His dad and mom obviously run the Tech Sport team. What a Father's Day gift this would be for this young man.
But it's not guaranteed yet. Carter Vartuk coming back on the counterattack now. Right under the back bumper of Devin Anderson coming through the climbing S's. Side by side here, this is for second overall, and the position will go to Cugliari, who continues his pursuit of Jacob Brood. Just a couple corners to go. Jacob Brood moments away from a return to victory lane.
What a battle we're seeing there for the podium spots.
Could be a drag race for the second position, but out in front, Racine, Wisconsin's Jacob Brood comes to the checkered flag, and Jacob Brood will win race 2 of the weekend at VIR. The fight for second goes to Cugliari by 1/10 of a second. Meanwhile, Vartuk has gotten back around Anderson. Anderson back on the attack, though.
Wow, how did Vartuk make that happen? It had to be into Oak Tree, you would think.
Kevin Bohm, a second win this weekend. He picks up the TC class victory. Anderson so strong through the roller coaster here, now headed down towards the hog pen for the final time.
Hopping the curbs there, he's trying to get to him.
Kicks up the dust, it'll be a drag race to the line. Carter Vartuk in the Honda. Anderson in the Subaru, and Carter Vartuk, Skip Barber Racing School, wins race 2 at VIR.
That was an awesome final couple of laps there. Team celebrate. Wow, we saw some action there. A couple of interventions there with the red flag and yellows, but nonetheless a great motor race.
Love to see the onboard from those two cars for that fight for the lead, swapping positions multiple times on the final 2 laps. Carter Vartuk emerging in that duel with yet another race win here this season. Jacob Brood back in victory lane, finding that form that he displayed at the start of the season and throughout the year last year. I think he's been waiting for this. I mean, he said it last year. We want the challenge. We want the competition level to come up, and it has, and he's risen to the occasion.
And from a career perspective, Ryan, it just it really steps up your game. You can dominate, it looks great in the record books, right? But you need the level of competition, so you have to get outside your comfort zone, push a little deeper, work on the setups, learn the race car more, and get that fine edge so you can get back and win a circle.
And for Kevin Bohm, it's the second straight day where it looks like maybe he didn't have the best package, all things considered, but he still finds himself on the top step of the rostrum.
Well, he's the ultimate racer. I mean, he's so savvy, so much experience. Just, it's a thinking man's game at times, and he certainly has all of the attributes for that game.
Well, back to the result in TCA here in just a moment. First, Lucas Catania does finish with the CrowdStrike fastest lap. A good recovery to get to 4th, but I do think he has to be wondering what might have been. That car was fast all weekend long and just didn't quite get the ultimate result to show for it.
That'll be frustrating. He just can't quite get back into the position. Had that little bump there in turn 5, went for that quick spin, got the recovery with the reset and the full course yellow, but nonetheless, you'd have to feel at least a podium car, maybe a race-winning car here today.
So back to TCA for Carter Vartuk. That is his 3rd win of the season. He's finished on the podium in all 6 races so far in TCA. And he has at least 1 win each of the 3 weekends so far this year. So a great deal of momentum behind this young man who came fairly close to a title a year ago, ultimately finished 3rd, but went on that huge run in the midsummer portion of the schedule to get himself in the championship conversation. He came into this year with the championship firmly in mind. That was the goal. Nothing less would do. And he has so far done everything right to contend for a title yet again.
Well, he came into this championship weekend with a 14-point lead, and he lost the lead by 1 point yesterday to Gresham Wagner with a 15-point swing. And now, obviously, with Wagner not seeing the checkered flag today, big jump in the points over Gresham.
No question about that. Pennsylvania native, champion of the Saline Cup Young Guns division a couple years back. One of these young talents that has been given a lifeline through the Skip Barber School, where he does some work as well as driving for the school, showcasing what the school is all about.
A tight turn there at the end of pit lane. I think they were back to Parc Fermé and go through technical inspection, dust themselves off, and look forward to Watkins Glen.
Can't wait. What a great track. From strength to strength in this calendar, from a great track here at VIR to a classic at Watkins Glen. Unofficial results from race 2. Jacob Rude by 1.5 seconds over Stephen Cugliari. Colin Garrett backs up the win yesterday with another run to the podium here today in race 2. Lucas Catania, that recovery up to 4th. And Brett Scroggin on debut comes home with the 5th place finish in race 2. Kevin Bohm gets the win in TC. Jeff Rica and Nicholas Barbado again showing the strength of the Gen Racer team and that Hyundai package in TC.
Yeah, they're there every weekend, right? I mean, had a solid runner-up finish at NOLA for Jeff Ricker, and very much in the mix this weekend. 2 podium runs.
Carter Fartuk with the win as chronicled in TCA. Devin Anderson, another runner-up finish. He's been a race winner before, just not yet this season. He's been knocking on the door. You feel like it's imminent. And then Christian Pericarpi, young man celebrating a birthday today, will get to stand on the podium.
That's a big celebration. His dad will be pleased with that one.
And Spencer Bucknam keeps his strong run going. He's finished in the top 5 in every race so far this year.
Yeah, really consistent. 3rd-generation racer associated with Honda over the years, including his grandfather's time in a race car.
Let's hear from our race winners now with Amanda.
With his dad standing right next to him, Christopher. And Jacob, you told us at the top of the show that you wanted to win this one here on Father's Day for your father. But I want to go back to yesterday was your worst finish of your career with us so far. When you bounce back to get the win here today, why are these wins sometimes the most important?
Well, I think it's just important after a day like yesterday that you just look ahead to tomorrow. You know, whatever happened. We made some mistakes, the crew made some mistakes, and, you know, we ended up where we ended up. But it's just important after today to refocus and, you know, run the race that we have in front of us rather than thinking about the race behind us. And I'm so glad that I was able to do it with my dad here at this weekend. Thank you so much for supporting me. It's been a great year so far, and I'm looking forward to more racing.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
It's pretty special.
It is.
Yep.
It is. You can see what it means right there. Really cool stuff.
It's a proud dad right there. His
For
boy's
good
done
reason.
an awesome job.
Yeah, really sharp young man, too. Enjoyed getting to know him over the course of the year last year. Had a great chat with him at the end-of-year banquet in Indianapolis as well. The whole family's very involved, grandparents, parents, across the board, and he's got a trip to his home track in Road America coming up in a few months.
Well, we talk about the schedule off to the Glen next, and then Road America and Sebring, Indy in our future. So just a tremendous set of venues that we incorporate within this SRO calendar.
Definitely so. Swept it at Elkhart Lake, I believe, last year. Nevertheless, certainly had some good performances on home turf there in Wisconsin. And another great victory for Jacob Rude here today. Let's go back down to Amanda now in Victory Lane.
Well, Kevin, for telling us yesterday that you didn't have the car to win here this week, and you back it up with yet another. We saw you pulling out of line, keeping that engine cool. What adjustments do you make during the race to maintain this car?
Well, I mean, it's whatever it takes. I'm looking at all the numbers on the dash, and I've kind of programmed it to give me information that I need to know what to do. And whether it's looking at temperatures or just trying to feel the car, even just what it feels like. All those things kind of add up, and in a race like today where it's really complicated with the restarts, it's really tough, but you just got to kind of go with the flow, and the race becomes shorter so you can drive a little bit differently, and that's what it took today.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a start to the season it's been for Kevin Boehm. 5 wins out of 6 races. That championship lead is growing and growing. He learned a lot, I think, last year when he came up 9.5 points short of the title, despite a really strong finish to the season in his first year in TC.
Yeah, and I think he'll go away from this weekend recognizing he caught a bit of a break. I mean, Clay Williams had a really fast mini, had technical issues yesterday, still bounced back for a podium run, and today he had the lead and suddenly just lost power once again, a boost issue we understand. So that mini's going to be tough through the summer months if they can just get a handle on some of these technical issues. It
was a wild finish to the race in TCA. I think we've got cameras on how some of these positions were swapped. Carter Fartuck, Devin Anderson side by side through the horseshoe, and this is going to continue on into turns 3 and 4. What a great duel between two really good young up-and-coming drivers.
It really was, and then on at the back straightaway. I thought it was into Oak Tree. It was actually exiting Oak Tree, so I'm not sure if Anderson just had a little bobble there coming out, but Fartuck just suddenly got the horsepower down to the road and gets the lead.
And that's what it means to the teams involved, all the effort they put into these cars to get their driver to victory lane, and that's where we find Carter Fartuck with Amanda.
Well, Carter, I was talking to you during that time that we had during the red flag, and you were saying that you thought that the Tech Sport car was stronger than yours. You held off and got this win. You're incredible on restarts, but the battle royale between you and Devin, walk us through that last lap and when you found your opportunity.
Well, first off, the TCA class, I think, puts on the best shows as possible. Some of the best drivers as well. So being able to drive against these guys and race against these guys has been such a pleasure. And Devin has done a fantastic job with as little experiences he has. I also want to say I really hope Gresham is okay. That was not a good thing to see. You never want to see your competitors hit a wall that hard, especially whatever happened to him. But yeah, he made a mistake coming out of turn 10. Then he made another little slip out of Oak Tree, and I just capitalized on it. I knew we were strong down the straightaways. They had us big time in the braking zones and the corners, but capitalized there and just kind of did what I had to do through roller coaster. But he was very consistent. He didn't do anything crazy, which I appreciate. So it was fantastic. But the Skip Barber team putting this thing back together after having our issue in qualifying with the brakes. I mean, what a testament to them. This is all 100% them. So I can't thank them enough.
Congratulations, Carter.
It's a great point. They had the off in qualifying, and that car was pretty dinged up, and they bounced back with 2 strong results in back-to-back days.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do, keep digging deep. We lost the pole position because of that, but rebounded nicely.
And he did. Highlights of race 2 of the weekend at VIR. Jacob Rude on pole position, courtesy of the fastest race lap yesterday. But it was a fierce fight behind him. Olivia Askew very aggressive early on. Duels early and often in the TC field with Kevin Boehm and Jeff Ricca swapping the top spot there at the start. This was the big moment. Scary stuff. Gresham Wagner able to walk away from that big impact.
Yeah, trying to understand if there was a braking issue with the race car. Certainly that big dice with Carter Fartuck, and big impact there. Fortunately, he did walk away.
Brought out the red flag, but when we got back to racing, what a dice it was in multiple classes. This was the fight for 2nd and 3rd overall in TCX as well. Jacob Rude coming home back in victory lane for the Wisconsin-based driver. Fun racing throughout the field in TC America here at VIR.